Okay, now that we went into how to upload a list of contacts and create a smart list using filters, let's get into tagging a little bit deeper and why it's so important. So I'm just going to pull up any old contact in the database. And if you remember from the training, this is the contact panel. In the center is the communication panel. And then on the right-hand side, you've got activity, tasks, notes, etc. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you've got the actions area called tags, automation, and opportunities. So this one's already tagged with the word sold, but we didn't really tag it with what we sold them, right? So you may want to tag it with something like, oh, we know this, we can go to here, we have a policy type, which is a LPPO. No idea what that one is. Oh, PPO program. The carrier is Aetna. And so let's say that we wanted to tag it with a Medicare, because this is a Medicare client. I'm going to just type in the word Medicare and choose the Medicare at the bottom. Now, if you notice, there was a bunch of other Medicares in there, right? And this is if you potentially wanted to use a tag to launch an automation. So let's say that every person that you sold a policy to, you wanted to add a tag that sent them a policy renewal or something like that. Then you could create a tag for that. And we'll go into that in a little bit later training. So what else could we tag this person with? Well, we could tag them with what they purchased, right? So let's say this is a Part C. So we could tag them with Part C. And let's say they also purchased Part A. And this person also purchased Part B. Signed up for Part A, B, and C, and they're on Medicare, and they're also with Aetna. We don't really need to tag it with Aetna because we've got a custom field with a carrier name, but it doesn't hurt to have it. Okay? So the next person, I'm just going to click this little right arrow here. And let's say this person, I'm going to go down to the tags again. This person, and better. So let's tag it and better. And this person just did Part A and Part B. Now, obviously, they purchased a Part C. Looks like she's on a DSNP. So you may want to tag it with DSNP. And let's go to the next person. Now, you could have automated this. You could have added all these tags in a tag field in your CSV file, but it would make for a very short training, wouldn't it? So that's why we're doing it manually. Because as you're working with clients, you can add these kind of as you're working, right? So that's what I'm trying to get you in the habit of. So this is another Aetna. And let's say this person did Part C, Part A, and Part D. Let's change it up a little bit, okay? It looks like they did a DSNP also. All right, and let's go to the next one. We'll do one more just to give us a little bit of data to work with here. And this person again is and better. And we're just going to do Part A. And we'll do Medigap. MedSup, Medigap, whatever you want to do, right? Just change it up a little bit. So now we're going to go back to the main here, and we're going to create a different filter. This filter is going to be a little bit more complex, right? So we're going to go over here to the more filters, and we're just going to search by tags. You can also type it in here, tag, and we're going to search by any of the following. Let's go part A, part B, and part C. So if anybody has any of these, then it's going to pull up. And there's the 4 people, and we're going to save that as a smart list. Okay, now let's say we want to go one more step more complex, right? We're going to go back to all. And this time we're going to go tag is. And we're going to go part A. And let's just apply that. So now we've got 3 that are part A. And here's where you do that and or, right? So we're going to do and. This one is dsnip. Notice, why didn't it pull up? Because I didn't search for tag. So you have to look for the tag first, is dsnip. Helps if I spell it correctly. There you go. And click apply. So tag is part A and dsnip. Okay. And we're going to do one more. And we'll probably do a tag is not sold. I'm going to show you why I'm doing this. Now, both of these should be in the list, right? So we're going to click sold and click apply. So is not sold. Now, both of those had sold as the tag, right? So let's remove that so you can see it again. Both of these had the word sold. So we're going to go to Vivian Wheeler just to show you how to do this. We go back to tag and is not sold. So why am I doing this? Well, sometimes you may want to follow with a client, right? So these are the not sold. So this might be a follow-up list or something like that. So I'm going to go back to Vivian Wheeler, and let's say we did not sell her. So I'm going to remove that tag. Just remove the tag. And if I go back, and now I go back to here, drop down this little list here, and we go not sold, and Vivian Wheeler will show up there. So that can be useful also, not only just adding tags to sort and filter, but also removing tags to help you find stuff and keep track of things. Let's say somebody went from active to inactive. You may want to change their tag. That means you have to remove a tag from active and change it to inactive. That means you have to remove the active tag, something like that, right? So there's lots of different uses for that. Next, real quickly, I'm going to get into, let's say I wanted to export this list. Well, let's get into the sold all policies. And if I just check all here and select all 135 records, and if I export this list as it is, if I go over to the columns area right here and click this down arrow, it's only going to export these fields. But we know that these contacts have other fields. And this is where nomenclature really is going to help you out. What do we put all those under? 14.0, right? So we're going to go down to the 14s. And because I didn't use those 14s, I can't find them. I didn't put them on the individual fields. I just put it on the field folder. So let me show you where that's coming up so you see exactly what I'm doing. So let's go to settings and custom fields. And we're going to go to the folders. And if you remember, I put a 14 on that custom folder. So there it is. But I didn't put the 14 on the policy type. And the reason I didn't is because in here, I didn't want to have to put 14 for it to match up. I would have to be 14 carrier name, right? So I'm going to change this. Let's change policy type. We're going to edit this to 14 now, 14.0 and 14.0. Save. And we'll just call this one 14.1 and click save. And this is why numbering is really important, because it helps you find stuff. So we're going to check all, select all 135 records. I'm going to go down the columns, and we're going to scroll down until we get to the 14s. Where are they? I probably blew past them. 1.4, where's my 14s? I'm going too fast. My eyes can't see this. Where are they? Come on. All right, I just had a refresh. So going back and forth did not refresh the list here. So there's the policy type, and there's the carrier ID. Okay, so now when I scroll to the top of the list, those are in the list, and they will export now. So you have to make sure that whatever fields you want checked off are the fields that, or whatever fields you want to export are the fields that are checked off. Okay, so this is why nomenclature is really important. Okay, because you can imagine, like, you've got country and county, and a lot of these are, very simple. Like, what's the difference between carrier name and company name, right? And the only difference is where it's being used and what form it's on and things like that. That's why we number stuff. So if I go to, get that out of the way, go back to settings and go back to custom fields, if I look up the company name, right? So this one has, or how many full-time employees. And then if I look up carrier name, well, we've got healthcare carrier, carrier ID, carrier name. So how do I know which one is in the 14 folder? You don't, unless you number it, right? But understand that numbering there will change it here. So let me show you how that works. If I go back to the contacts and I try and re-upload this folder, here's my sold policies, and next. So because I renamed this 14 carrier ID, I would have to do 14 carrier ID. All right? Let's look that up. Where is it? Here it is. Carrier ID. Now it's 14.1 carrier ID. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay? And I was trying to keep it very simple in the beginning so I wasn't confusing anybody, right? So now this one is, I think it was 14.2 policy type, but you can just type in policy type. 14.0, it's policy type. Okay? So that's why I did not do the numbering on here right from the beginning. Okay? Now, if you wanted to, you would have to label it exactly what the name of the custom field is for it to match up and not have to do those searches every single time. Okay? Just so you know. So if it were me, I'd go back to my settings and custom fields and folders, and we're going to look up 14. And I would renumber this 14.0, .1, .2, .3, .4, .5, or 14 A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. So if you don't plan on having more than 26 letters or 26 items, then go ahead and just use A, B, and C. Makes it a little bit easier, I find, rather than the decimal point. If you do use the letter, understand that if you go over 26 letters, because there's 26 letters in the alphabet, then when you scroll around and get past Z, the next one would be AA, BB, CC, DD, or you could do A1, A2, A3. But you understand, you have to really understand how these were going to get, they're not alphabetized. You have to drag in place, right? So just be aware of that. But inside of your drop downs is where it will get alphabetized. And you can kind of see this, like here's 0, 0.01, 0.A, B, C. So your numbering, if you're not consistent across your folders and fields, it can get a little bit wonky. So 1.6, and then we have 10, and then we have 13, and then 14, and then we have 2.0. And that's because this one starts with a 1. If it started with a 0, 2.0, then it would be correct. Okay? So just little quirky things you just need to be aware of. Okay?